I wanted to talk about the unpredictability of what is coming and the number one way that you could deal with this unpredictability that's happening. So the best way to deal with this kind of turbulence, and it's really an aftershock, and I don't think a lot of people have spoke about what an aftershock is. An aftershock is when you have a catalytic type of event, like COVID is a catalytic event, right? War is a catalytic event. Then what happens is there's the onset of it, right? The onset of this causes a whole lot of turbulence. Starts people getting confused, then they get concerned, then they get locked down with fear, then anxiety comes in. But as you build up, the more unknowns that there are to a catalytic event, the more emotional turbulence that happens, the more pressure that happens, the more, trauma that starts to happen. But then you enter this world where you're in it, right? Like you're in it. Like COVID, it's probably, I would say it was probably about, once a year hit, we were in it. A year and a half, you're kind of in it and out of it. And now what happens is about over 2 years later, you feel like you're out of it. But it's not really you're out of it. People are still getting it. So what's the aftershock? Well, first let's look at the pent-up demand that was there. Like a lot of people's businesses grew because it was this pent-up demand, right? Like people locked down, they weren't spending. All of a sudden you open up, boom, money comes into the world. So with all this different turbulence that's happening, how do you make sure you're ready for anything? And I see it as the biggest problem that's happening today. And a lot of you have heard me say things like, in order to 10x anything, you have to 20x yourself. So I want to talk about 20x in yourself. Like the way you think, the things you think about, the things you say to yourself, the things you say to others, the things you share with others that you're thinking, all of this is creating an outcome for you. And when you're in the middle of talking about these turbulences like gas and food prices, what happens when you focus so much on that, your mind can't create a solution. You can't create. I hope you. I was just thinking. I hope you got a copy of this. If you didn't, I want to share something with you in here. Oh, this was one of the copies that was printed. Maybe you're a lucky one, but this copy was printed and some pages are upside down. But I want to share on page 19 here real quick because I believe that this will really help you out. Now, this diagram, I don't know if it's going to be, it looks like it might be reversed for you. So you're going to have to get the book to get the diagram, I guess, right? So in the middle of it is you. And then there's thought, word, and deed. And this is really important to stabilize you because the world around you, the people around you, can only be at a level of stability that you're at. That's it. Your world is a reflection of you. And make sure as you're listening to this, or if you tune in later, listen to it, like type in what you're taking away here. And so once you hit you have thought, word, and deed. It's like the things you think about, right? The things you think about, the things you say, the things you do with what you think and what you say. And then that's going to create an action. And then on the outer circles, there's mind, body, and spirit, right? So first off, your mind could only be as effective as the body and vehicle it's in, right? Which, hey, I'm not here to judge what anybody's doing, but if you're doing things to cloud your mind, jade your mind, distort your mind cannot function the body at the level you need it to get the results you want. Like, what do you want? You want more money? You want a better relationship? You want more freedom? You want more wealth? Like, what is it you want? And people say they want so much more, but they don't want to make the decisions to do what they need to do to get so much more, right? So you have this mind, and then you have this like physical body that has to be able to move motion and take action and do things that the mind can say to get the result you desire. And then you have this spirit. So what the heck is this spirit? Like, the spirit is your higher belief, whatever you think about, right? Your soul and God or universe. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to call it is perfect for you. But what happens is, if your mind starts to break, you start to say, well, wait a second, right? You go back to the thought, word, and deed. And the thoughts are, things are broken, things are bad, things are not good. Well, that starts to affect your body. So your body's like, I guess things aren't good. I guess things are bad. So I guess we should just kind of destroy your body. We should just make it tough for you to do things. Whenever you're really, really in deep, really stuck in your head, pain, suffering, depression, anxiety, what happens? Shuts down the body, doesn't it? Like, don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to do anything. At that point, it starts to break your spirit. It starts to destroy your spirit. Your spirit being the ability to believe in higher level stuff, to believe that things can happen, that change can happen, that improvement will happen. Everything is a cycle. So, couple tips for you guys. One, and I'm not here to sell you a book. Like, you don't make anything on books anyway. But I will tell you that inside this book, if you want to get a free copy of it, I guess post below this free copy, and I'll have my son or somebody reach out and give you a link where you can get a free copy of it. But like, in here, we talk about, mind consciousness and the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Or the unconscious mind, things you're like, what the heck are you talking about, mate? It doesn't matter. Just get the book and read it, because it's going to make a lot of sense to you. And I wrote this book because I wanted to give everybody a new understanding. And when I sign books for people, I always say, your mind is your superpower. It really is. So if you want to be prepared for the future, you want to be prepared for anything that's coming, you need to get dialed in on your mind. Now, where is one of the big, I'm going to put this one back up here. Where's one of the big situations that going on today? Well, here's what I noticed of the world. Here. Okay, boom, got it. Okay, here's something that I know that's going on. So many people are focused on their business, right? They're so focused on their business today that they're not focused on all the other areas of life. So they're going to business trainings, which I think you should do. I think it's great. But going to a business training and neglecting bringing your relationship to a training, I see this as a situation that I lived through myself. Because what happens is, maybe your partner doesn't want to go to a business training. They're not interested in marketing, sales, operations, and systems, right? But the fact is, they are interested in growth, because if you're not growing together in your relationship, you're growing apart. That's one of the reasons why I created the Freedom Tribe, was a place where a husband and wife or partners can come and show up weekly and go, hey, how do we focus together? How do we build a life by design and not by default? And I watch so many people, high-level entrepreneurs, very wealthy people sitting there, and they always ask me the same thing, like, how do I get aligned with my wife? I'm like, well, you have to go to a place so you can get aligned. You have to go to a place where you could grow together. You have to go a place where you could experience things. And they're like, well, what do you mean, Mike? We just went to a vacation for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, so like most vacations for people are like Tylenol. It's like temporarily removes the pain, right? Because when you're on vacation, you're like, there's no worries, and we're here, and there's cocktails, and there's food, and it's all fun. Then you get back, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait a second. So life didn't really change. It only changed for a brief moment, but you mean it's still there. And if I could urge you to just consider something, is start to find a place where you can invest in your wife. So many people talk, and I'm going to break a big myth here for you guys. And so I don't forget, make sure you're checking the stream. I'm doing a training this week on Wednesday at 7 p.m. around chaos and the controlling the chaos method. Let me break a big myth for you. All over, there's these people. Now, I'm with my wife since I'm 15, so we have a whole lot of time of figuring what to do and what not to do, right? And so people are like, oh, date night. Well, you got to do date night every week and like make sure you schedule date night. And what they don't tell you is like, wait a second. You think going out on a date one night a week like fixes your relationship? It removes all the pain and suffering and trauma. Like it changes all the neglect because you've been focusing on your business. And now you think because you go to like On the Border or Steakhouse 85 and have a steak with your wife, like that like fixes everything. You think that's the missing piece is date night. Okay, well, most of the people that are telling you that date night is the missing piece have been through one or multiple divorces. So I don't know, maybe they figured out some stuff. Let me tell you, it's not about date night, it's about growth. It's about growth night. It's about a growth session. It's about a growth environment. That's what matters. I don't know if the waitress comes up to you and goes, hey, by the way, have you guys thought about your, before you order dessert, have you already discussed your wants and needs between each other and what your future looks like? Like, come on. That shit doesn't happen. It's a delusion what they're telling you that if you just go on date night, it's going to fix it all. It's going to be grand. No, it doesn't work that way. This is 3 decades for me. I've been watching it, exploring it, and living it myself. Like you need to have an environment in your relationship where you give back to the relationship and go somewhere. If it's not me, go somewhere else. Hit me up. If you don't think I'm the fit for you because like you just don't like the tattoos or maybe I'm too intense for you, I'm not offended at all, right? I'm not offended at all. But find a place where you and your wife can go and grow together in an environment that's congruent where they can learn. I do think a lot of people come and learn in my world because one, you know, I'm in a relationship for a long, long time. And also we've navigated growing to high 8-figure businesses, selling to high 8-figure businesses, starting multiple businesses again. And so like we understand how to navigate the world of kids and vacations and homes and wealth and properties and portfolios and all these different dynamics of life. But most couples have one side out of balance. And if you're out there and you're one of these people like, yeah, my wife, she's not into that personal development stuff. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, whatever she's not into, she'll be into eventually because you're going to create such a space. It's not like the 1950s where, you know, you didn't need this and women were just, they were felt like their sole purpose was like, hey, I just got to cook and clean. And like, you know, probably your grandparents, like your grandmother, like what did she do? Most grandparents, like they cooked, they cleaned, they took care of family stuff and they were home and they were just happy with that. But that's not the world today. The world has so much more opportunities, so much things and so much of a grander life that people could build. So if you're not growing together, you're growing apart. So let's make sure as we're heading, I know the summer, it's great. Everybody's moving around. You're all vacationing. It's this big fantasy fairyland right now. But I just want to tell you, within that fantasy land, start to focus on your mind. Like, how do you have to develop your mind to be ready for anything to come? And then how do you help develop the minds within your relationships, within your family, within your children? And how do you get that whole ecosystem aligned so everybody's thinking the most powerful way? Then what will happen is, as we go through this turbulence, you'll sit there and you'll say, okay, this hasn't been much of a big deal for you because you've been prepared. Have an amazing rest of your weekend. And if I could help or serve you guys in any way, just let me know. Boom.